Everyone says medieval people never bathed. It is one of the most famous historical stereotypes today, that they smelled absolutely disgusting. We imagine them walking around covered in years of dirt, that they were actually afraid of water. Some even claim they thought taking a bath would kill them, but almost everything you just heard is wrong. The real truth is actually far more interesting, because medieval people did bathe. In fact, keeping clean was highly valued in their society. So, why did everyone think they didn't? Where did this massive historical myth actually come from? Public bathhouses existed all across Europe. They were just as common as bakeries in major cities. Some towns had several bathhouses. You could easily find one in almost any neighborhood. People paid to wash. The entry fee was usually very cheap, even for the poor. They even relaxed there after work. It was the perfect place to catch up on local gossip. Some bathhouses even served food. You could enjoy a hot meal right inside the tub. Others offered massages. It was a full spa experience centuries before modern spas existed. Bathhouses were one of the most popular places in town. Everyone from peasants to merchants gathered there weekly. So, what happened? Why did this incredible bathing culture suddenly disappear? Everything changed after one terrible event. A dark nightmare swept across the continent without warning. The Black Death. This devastating plague changed human history forever. It killed millions. Entire communities were wiped out in a matter of weeks. Nobody knew what caused it. Medical science was simply not advanced enough to understand germs. People guessed. Extreme desperation led to many wild and bizarre theories. Some blamed bad air. They called these dangerous, invisible clouds miasma. Some blamed evil spirits. They thought demons were wandering the streets at night. Some blamed God. They truly believed the sickness was a divine punishment for their sins. Then one strange idea spread across Europe. Top doctors officially published a terrifying warning. Hot water opens your skin. They argued that heat makes your body physically vulnerable. Open pores let disease enter your body. They believed the deadly plague would literally flow into you through the bathwater. Today, we know that's completely wrong. Washing actually protects you from dangerous bacteria. But back then, people believed it. Even kings and queens began avoiding the bath. So many people bathed less often. The golden age of public bathhouses came to a sudden end. But here's the question everyone wants answered. It is the first thing we all think about when discussing the past. If people barely bathed, why didn't everyone run away from the smell? How could they stand being near each other? The answer is surprisingly simple. It comes down to how the human body naturally adapts. Everyone smelled. There was no escaping the natural odor of everyday humanity. When everyone smells the same, it becomes normal. You stop registering it as something gross or unusual. Your brain quickly stops noticing familiar smells. This is a biological feature called olfactory fatigue. The same thing happens today. You experience this natural invisible filter all the time. You don't notice the smell of your own home until you come back after a vacation. Only then does your nose reset and catch the true scent. Medieval people experienced the exact same thing. Their daily environment simply became their accepted baseline scent. But the smell wasn't coming only from people. The world around them was constantly generating even stronger odors. Many families kept animals inside the house. This was completely normal and expected for peasant households. Chickens, goats, pigs, sometimes even cows. They shared the exact same tight living space as humans. Animals helped keep the house warm during winter. Their collective body heat acted like a living radiator. But they also produced a lot of waste, and that waste often stayed right there on the dirt floor. Now step outside. Things certainly didn't get any better in the open air. There is no sewer system. Underground pipes carrying waste away simply did not exist yet. People emptied buckets directly into the road. All household waste was casually thrown out the window. Rain mixed everything together. The unpaved dirt roads turned into a gross, foul-smelling soup. The streets became rivers of mud. Walking through town meant stepping directly into this nasty mess. And sometimes, that mud wasn't only mud. It was a terrible mixture of garbage and animal droppings. Flies loved it. They swarmed over everything in massive, buzzing numbers. So did rats. They thrived in the dark shadows of these filthy streets. And where rats go, Disease follows. These hidden pests were the true carriers of the deadly plague. But here's another strange question. Thinking about this environment makes you wonder about romance. If everyone smelled so bad, how did people fall in love? How could anyone find a romantic partner? The answer is that smell is relative. Attraction wasn't based on smelling perfectly clean and fresh. Nobody expected anyone to smell like flowers. They only judged you compared to everyone else around them. That was simply everyday life. Human connection easily overpowered any background odors. People still married. They formed lifelong bonds despite the lack of modern hygiene. Still had children. Families grew and loved each other just like they do today. Still celebrated festivals. Joy, dancing, and music filled the muddy village squares. Life simply continued. Love always finds a way, even in the middle of the Middle Ages. But here's something most people never realize. The history books often leave out this crucial detail. Medieval people didn't want to be dirty. They actually hated feeling sticky and gross just as much as we do. They simply didn't have the technology we have today. Staying perfectly clean required an incredible amount of hard physical labor. There was no hot running water. Every single drop had to be carried by hand and heated over a fire. No plumbing. Bathing at home meant dragging a heavy wooden tub into the middle of the room. No shampoo. Hair care routines relied on simple water and sometimes herbs to cut through the grease. No deodorant. Masking body odor with a quick spray was an impossible futuristic dream. Even soap could be expensive. Good quality soap was considered a luxury item for the wealthy. Many families couldn't afford to waste animal fat making soap. That fat was desperately needed for cooking and surviving the harsh winters. Instead, they washed their clothes whenever possible. Linen undergarments acted like a sponge to absorb sweat and oils. Because clean clothes often mattered more than clean skin. A bright white shirt showed society that you were a respectable person. Some people even carried flowers. This was a clever trick to block out the overwhelming street smells, or small bags filled with herbs. They would press these up against their noses while walking through crowded areas. Not because they loved perfume, though sweet smells were definitely a nice bonus, but because the streets smelled so bad. It was a portable shield against the foul air of the city. And yes, people really had lice. It was an extremely common and intensely annoying problem. Fleas were everywhere. They hid deep inside the straw mattresses people slept on every night. Bedbugs, too. Nighttime was often full of uncomfortable, itchy bites. Nobody liked them. These tiny pests were universally hated by absolutely everyone. People fought them constantly. They washed their sheets in boiling water and aggressively swept their floors. But they almost never won. Without chemical pesticides, the bugs always found a way to return. So, did medieval people smell bad? If a modern person traveled back in time, they would definitely say yes. Probably. The combined scent of sweat, wood smoke, and animals was very strong. Did they never bathe? Is the old, dirty stereotype actually true? No, they absolutely did. They washed their hands, faces, and bodies whenever they had the chance. Were they afraid of water? Did they run away from a simple bath? Not at all. Many actually enjoyed soaking in a warm tub just as much as we do today. They were simply trying to survive with the knowledge they had. They did their best in a very difficult and demanding world. If you had been born in the year 1250, living without modern conveniences, you probably would have lived exactly the same way. You would have adapted to the smells and rules of that era perfectly.